Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is Monday, which means we have some ghost stories for you. Well, actually, it doesn't. I have a very special guest. In fact, it's not a phantom. It's James, my twin.
Everyone.
You guys might know him or do already know him from his skincare channel, which you might think is me doing skincare or James doing makeup, which it isn't. It's we're two different people.
Yes.
So make sure you subscribe to us both. It's a very special episode of Ghosts Mondays and
Makeup.
Mondays. James actually has a ghost story of his own, which he is going to tell us, and I'm going to do his makeup, which is something people have asked for a lot for me to do his makeup. So I always have a little theme around what kind of ghosts we're going to do. And James's theme, because his skincare is going to be, so he is like someone who's taken too much online advice and has used coconut oil to take off everything. It's his shower gel, it's his body cream, it's a face wash, and it's clogged up his skin. Completely clogged. He died from skin suffocation. So I'm going for a very...
Just so you know, you can't die from that.
It hasn't happened yet. So we are going for a very oil slicked kind of look today. So yeah. So you can send your ghost stories to this email. And that's it pretty much. I love pictures, I love videos, but I love every story in general. And thank you so much for all the stories I've been getting. I just checked the email again and I have loads more, so I can't wait to read those. So should we?
Yeah, let's.
Here, take a seat. Subscribe. Now let me just do a pre-warning. You're really bad at getting your makeup done.
I hate having my makeup done. I hate having anything by my eyes. I hate the feeling of like something going in them. And my eyes water when I tell this story because I don't like it.
Yeah.
Just so you know, just to warn you.
And also, I'm not going to go through every product because I don't want to keep interrupting the story, so I'll link them below. I don't know if the microphone picked that up. So should we just get straight into it?
Let's get straight into it.
So, explain... Just keep your
story.
eyes shut for me as we go, and then, yeah.
Oh, I might have chai tea breath.
That's fine, I'm not
Okay.
close enough to your mouth.
Okay.
Just keep your eyes shut for me. Just relax your face.
So we've obviously always been a believer of ghosts and the paranormal and all that kind of stuff. But this story, like this event even, made me like a real firm believer to the point where every time I move house, I ask the estate agent if it's haunted.
Mm-hmm.
Like I genuinely like want to know because this changed like everything for me. So I went to university in a place called Cheltenham, which is in Gloucester, and it's a very old-fashioned, not old-fashioned, it's just an old town. Old-timey, and that's pretty much irrelevant to this story. But just so you kind of get like a sense of what the place looked like, it was all, I believe, Edwardian houses to Victorian, and I lived in a 3-floor kind of like, not townhouse, but the first floor had like 2 bedrooms, including mine, and a kitchen.
It was kind of like if a townhouse went underground.
Yeah, so then you go downstairs like a basement, and that was where the living room was. And then upstairs was another bathroom and everybody else's bedrooms. So we lived in there for a whole year, pretty much nearly a whole year before anything started to happen. And one night I was sat on my bed. It was dissertation time, so we had to pick a whole subject and write a dissertation on it. I can't remember how much it was, like 50,000 words or something.
Oh my goodness.
Me being me, I left it to the last minute. So for about a week, I was constantly stressed. Our house was behind a Thai restaurant, so you'd always hear like people talking, and if they were outside, you'd hear like the workers working and stuff. And it smelled amazing. Like the smells coming from that place were incredible. Yeah. But you'd always hear a bit of music from there on like a Saturday night. But this was a Friday night, and I remember being on my bed, typing on my laptop, and it was playing up. My laptop was playing up. It was a pretty new laptop, but I was listening to my music on iTunes, and it just kept freezing and stuttering. And I remember like thinking, if my computer breaks now, I'm going to lose my whole dissertation. Because I don't know why, but it wasn't auto-saving. But I kept hearing Happy Birthday playing over and over and over, just like randomly. And I can't... It was weird because it wasn't like a humming, it wasn't a singing, and it wasn't music. Does that make sense? Like it was the tune.
It was like the tune.
It was like the tune, and I couldn't tell... Yeah, and I couldn't tell if people were singing it or humming it, or if it was like just so far in the distance that I couldn't make it out.
Yeah.
But then it sounded so close at the same time. But I didn't think much of it at that point. I was just thinking, this is really annoying. Like, I'm trying to do my dissertation. I'm so stressed. And I remember getting up and closing my window. And it kind of like muffled the noise a little bit, but I could still hear it. So I remember closing my window. It was like a pull down one, and shutting my curtains. And then I couldn't hear it as much. And then it just kind of faded out. So I carried on typing and writing my dissertation. When my laptop completely froze, like completely froze. My music stopped playing. I couldn't type anything. And then Happy Birthday started again, over and over and over. I remember it was literally just that, the happy birthday to you, like over and over. It wasn't the rest of it. It was just that bit over and over and over. And I remember thinking, this is so annoying.
Yeah.
Then my laptop just wasn't working. It wasn't working at all. Then something, I had my back to the window, but something in my head just said to turn around. Like, I don't know what it was, but I had the biggest urge to like look behind me, and it felt like it's because there was someone there. Does that make sense? Like, you know,
like you feel someone's watching you, you feel someone's behind you.
Yeah, like, you know when you're in a room with someone and you can feel their presence, and when you're not, you know you're alone.
Yeah.
This felt like I wasn't alone. So I turned around, looked at my curtains, and there were curtains that kind of like drew in the middle, if that makes sense.
Like it overlapped.
Yeah, so the curtains were like this, and then one of them just literally went up like this. At like a right angle, as if someone had grabbed it and was
it wasn't just
around.
a curtain going forward.
It wasn't just a curtain like flowing. It was full on a right angle, like someone had pulled up and then dropped it. And I remember I screamed so loud. I remember like flying off my bed, opening my door and like knocking my head on the door like as I was opening it, because I was trying to open the door but get out at the same time. And I ran upstairs where everybody else's bedrooms were, and I remember just falling on the floor, like scream crying, like you know when you were young and you cried, you can't get words out. Like, obviously everyone was laughing at me and like, what's wrong? I told them, and no one really like
of course
believed anything.
I feel like unless you see something like that, there must be an explanation for it.
So then even I was a bit like, what, like not looking back at it, but that whole night, I was thinking like, what did I actually see? Like, did I actually see that? But I stayed in my my friend Gemma's room that night, and the whole night we were just like screaming at like any little noise. The next thing actually happened when I was in bed. I'd finally gone back to my own bedroom the next night, and I remember going to bed. I sleep with my duvet like up to my face, like I pull it all the way up, and I was like drifting off. And I remember like I was just in that moment where I knew I was falling asleep, and then I just felt like some weight on my ankles. Like there was just the biggest kind of like not dragging out of the bed, but dragging down
like
the
they got
bed.
your ankles
Like, so I got my ankles and I was pushing them on the mattress.
God.
And I remember like snapping out of it and thinking, like, did that just happen? Like, was that real, or was that
like some like sleep
like
thing?
someone? Like what the hell's going on? Then it was weird. After that, like there'd always be like shadows moving around, and when you're in like shared accommodation, you don't know who's in, who's not in the house, and like who's making these shadows. And all my housemates were all really good friends. We were all quite loud, and I remember thinking, where are these like shadows coming from? I was in my room again trying to do my dissertation, and me and my housemate Richard, my best friend now, we used to do this thing to each other where we knock on each other's door. We like 2 taps and then hide, and then we keep doing it, then we jump out at each other and scare each other. So this night I remember sat on my bed, same position, writing my dissertation. There was 2 knocks on my door. I get up and open it and no one's there. I was like, oh, it's Richard like trying to scare me. So I go back on my bed, 2 more knocks, open the door, no one's there. So I'm like, right, I'm going to catch Richard doing this halfway through the knocks. So I'm waiting at the door. There's a knock on the door. I open the door. The last knock hits the door as the door's open. And I, again, shit myself. I run upstairs. I'm crying. I'm like, something is fucking happening in this house. Like, something is going on. And it was an old house, so at the time I was thinking, old house, there could obviously be a ghost here. Then you came round. So Robert came to stay with a few of my friends, and you were just sat on my bed, weren't you? and you were wearing like khaki chinos because they were like the thing at the time. Like everyone was wearing like beige khaki trousers.
Never again.
And you were like, oh my God, what's that? And I was like, what? And we looked at your trousers.
Yeah.
There was like drops of water, wasn't there, all over your trousers. And then after that, I just kept feeling it. Like, I'd feel drops on my forehead. I'd feel drips of water, like, going down my neck. And I look up and there was nothing there. It was an old house, but there was no damp. Nothing was leaking. But this happened so much, like, all the time. There was actually a bathroom next to my bedroom. So I phoned the estate agent and I was like, there's some form of leak. Because not only were the drops happening in my room, but there was constant puddles in the bathroom, which doesn't sound weird, but we never used that bathroom. It was the downstairs bathroom that had like a cubicle shower, a toilet and a sink, whereas upstairs you had a nice like shower bath combination, toilet and a sink. So no one used that downstairs toilet. I actually had an argument with my housemate and I said to him, if you're going to shower in that shower, please put the bath mat down, stand on the bath mat, or at least like clean up that puddle. This guy was never in the house, bless him. Like, he didn't really get along with me and my friends. He was nice enough, like, we all got along, but he was always out hanging out with his own friends.
Yeah, that's life.
And he was like, James, like, honestly, don't use that bathroom. I'm not making puddles. I was like, right, there's got to be a leak then. Like, I would clean up this puddle, then that evening it would be back again. So we got the estate agent. We actually got a plumber around to knock out the ceiling between the toilet and my bedroom. No pipes were leaking and no pipes went over into my bedroom. So they were like, we have no idea why you're getting drops on you in your bedroom. Leakage on you. The man actually sealed up the pipes just in case in the bathroom, in case anything was leaking. But he was like, all these pipes look fine, nothing's leaking, everything's tight, whatever. But it just kept happening, like, all the time, to the point where I remember I just put a towel on the floor and every day I had to, like, change it, like, put it in the wash. And it wasn't, there was nothing leading to that puddle either. Do you know what I mean? Like, there weren't, like, it wasn't, like, next to the shower where it could lead through. It was just in the middle of the bathroom and there was no other wet around it. I'm thinking about it now, like, there was never any condensation in there, nothing, because no one used that bathroom.
Yeah.
This is where it gets, like, horrible now. One night, we woke up to like the loudest scream from our housemate, like a blood-curdling scream. Where, not to be graphic, but I thought she was being attacked in her room. Yeah. Like, I thought someone had come in and like got her, basically. So we were like, what the fuck's going on? We ran up to her room and she was against the headboard of her bed, clutching like this on her bed sheets. So she's got her like knees tucked up to her and she's clutching like this and patting around the bed. And we're like, oh my, like, what the fuck's going on? And she said that she woke up to somebody who she thought was our housemate Richard at the end of her bed. And she was kind of like it was like 3 a.m. She was like, what are you doing? And then she realized it wasn't him. And I remember what she said. She was like, I knew he was there, but he also wasn't. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I get really like tingly. Yeah. I was like, what do you mean? She was like, I don't know, like, he was there, but he wasn't. And she knew what he was wearing. She said he was wearing a jacket. He like looked down at himself. He was dripping wet, like drenched. Like, he was just like soaked. She said he looked down, looked at her. He said she could see like so much sadness in this guy's eye. Then all of a sudden he just fell onto her bed. She said when this guy fell onto her bed, she felt water like splash all over her, like she couldn't breathe. Like a wave. And that's why she was like touching the bed sheets. So she was like, she didn't understand where all the water had come from or gone, and she was like terrified. She actually lived in Bristol, so she went home for a bit because she was only 20 minutes away. Then this was like final like dissertation. We had like a final like show to put on. I did photography and we were displaying our final pieces kind of thing. So we were doing long hours at the university in the gallery as well. So I came home for like a nap. And I've had sleep paralysis before. I've had like, it's horrible, but I know what sleep paralysis is and I know that it's not real.
Well, people have it. You mean it's not a situation?
Oh no, people have it. I know like what you think is happening isn't happening. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I had the weirdest. I went for a nap, and I remember waking up because I was struggling to catch my breath. It was like I had a cold. I couldn't breathe through my nose, and I couldn't like like catch a breath through my mouth. It literally felt like something was in my mouth, and I was like that, and I was like I remember not being able to catch anything.
Yeah.
And I just remember my arms. I remember like them reaching out in front of me, and I remember my arms just like, it was, oh my God. They felt like, oh my God, I get really like,
Yeah, take a second.
oh my God. They felt like weightless. I remember they just like went up, and but I remember at the same time my body was going down. And I just remember like my legs felt weightless as well. They didn't go up, but my arms were like in front of me. And then I snapped out of it, and I remember my arms just like falling to the bed.
Like you were dropping.
Like I was dropping, but in slow motion, and like I had no control. And I remember like, usually with sleep paralysis, like you snap out of it and like, oh, okay, like that was weird. But with this, I was like, what the fuck just happened? Like I didn't snap out of it, but it just kind of like my arms dropped and they fell. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how to explain. It's like the weirdest thing, and I remember just thinking this is.
It's like waking up halfway through a dream, almost.
Yeah, but I knew like this was weird. Like I knew sleep paralysis always to me feels like more of a dream,
right? Whereas
this felt like I don't know. This felt so real that I could tell I was in the room. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I just remember thinking, what the fuck? And like more water stuff happened. There was puddles everywhere. One night, like now my housemates are kind of on board with me. Like they kind of think something's happening because of what happened to my other housemate. One night we were all in the living room, which is downstairs, so it was the basement level. And we were watching X Factor, and I was sitting on a sofa that was pushed up against a wall. And like my housemates were singing. There was like a song on that was big at the time. I think there was like a guest performance on it. And all of a sudden we just see this black thing fly across the room over our heads, hit the wall, and slide down the back of the sofa that I'm sat on. And I was like, did everyone just see that? Did everyone just see that? Did everyone just see that? And I'm like, yeah. So also behind the sofa was the door to the living room. So you had like the sofa pushed up against the wall. Then behind that gap was the door to the living room. And our housemate, who's like probably the bravest one of us all, she got up to have like a look what was going on. She looked behind the sofa, under the sofa, and couldn't see anything. She turned around to look at the door, which was closed behind us. And she was like, oh my fucking God. And we're like, what? What? I was like, what? Like, what's going on? I was like,
is it now?
Yeah, I was like, this isn't funny. And she was like, there's a knife in the door. I was like, what do you mean there's a knife? Like, it's stabbed in the door. And she was like, no, there's a knife in the hinge of the door, blade out. What? So I don't know if that makes sense. So like, if someone had managed to put the knife by holding the blade wedged into the door, then shut it behind us. None of us could have done that because we all entered the room together. We all made dinner together. We made it like a thing to eat dinner together, then watch X Factor. It was cold. We were students. We never had the heating on, so we'd always shut that door and like wear blankets and stuff. So to be able to shut that door, you would have known that if there was a knife hanging out, blade first, because the door would have shut.
And somebody would have. I remember, like in that room, you would have been able to see him like hanging out by the door, trying to wedge a knife in it. You would be like, "What are you doing?"
Like they would have had to pass me to go to that door. So we just didn't know. Like we had to get a throw and put it around the blade and try and pull it out, because it was.
I know. Sorry.
Oh my God, I hate this so much. Oh my God.
Okay, I'm gonna go 1, 2.
Oh, what are you doing?
Give you a break.
Okay.
1, 2.
Why are you there?
1, 2.
Oh my God.
Look this way.
Okay, really quick.
Try and roll your eyes back a little bit.
Oh my God.
Face the same. 2.
Oh my God. I can feel this in my neck.
Yeah. 1, 2.
Little things happen, like I would run back home to get some lunch, like when we were putting the final exhibition together, and I'd leave my shoes very purposely like in the kitchen doorway. I'd run and make a sandwich and then run back out and my shoes will be gone. They would have moved to like the front door when no one else was in the house, because we were all like the creative side of the university, so we're all doing our final presentations and stuff. Things like me and my housemate Richard were making salad to go with our dinner, and a coin was thrown into our salad bowl, which is the weirdest thing. Like it came from nowhere, and that's when, like, again, I think my housemate was more on board with everything happening. And we're at the point now, it was weird, where like, you know when people say like, if your house is haunted, why don't you just move?
Yeah.
It's not that easy. Like I was a student. I like had like £300 for rent a month. Like I couldn't move anywhere else. I couldn't get the money together to put down a deposit and then move.
Yeah.
And we were 2-3 months away from finishing university, and no place was going to take on anyone for 2-3 months.
No,
like it
of
didn't
course.
make sense. But we never felt like we were in danger, despite things like a knife hanging out the door, and despite like feeling like they were touching us, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, but I was sleeping with earplugs every night. I was sleeping with like eye mask on, just in case I saw anything or heard anything.
Yeah.
Little things would happen as well. Like I'd be in my room and I'd be talking to my housemate like across the room, and we'd see like a mist go past us. Like, you know, like when you've just blown out a candle,
Yeah.
and you see that kind of movement of
Yeah.
the smoke go past. We see stuff like that, and we'd just be looking at each other and I'd be like, "Did you see that?" I'd be like, "Yeah, did you see that?" Like, "Yeah, I saw that." And other things would happen as well. Like I'd hear what it always sounded like my housemate was moving furniture at night.
Oh my god, that's what my neighbours do.
Right, so like everyone's neighbours do that. So his bedroom was directly above mine. I'd text him and I'd be like, "What are you doing up there? Like, what are you doing?" It sounded like he was opening and closing drawers and
Yeah.
like moving those drawers across the thing, and he'd be like, "I'm honestly not doing anything." One night I text him saying like, "Whatever you're doing, please stop. Like, I'm trying to sleep." This was like 2 a.m. And then I remembered he was back home visiting his family. And I remember going upstairs and looking in his room, and nothing had moved. Like, it was empty. It was exactly as you would expect it. But I just remember thinking, like, now when I watch like ghost stories now, when people say the room feels heavy, I know exactly
Yeah.
what they mean.
Yeah.
Because his room felt like, it sounds true, but the darkness wasn't just darkness. Like, it felt like a mass. Like, it didn't feel like, it's so difficult to explain. Like,
Yeah.
it didn't feel like there was shadows in there. It just felt like there was a darkness covering his room rather than it being dark.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I just remember closing the door and thinking, no. So it was probably like a month before we were leaving, before we all finished university. And you know, you get the estate agent round to do, what's it called? Like a check to make sure you haven't broken anything. Inventory. To make sure you haven't broken anything, to make sure they don't have to replace anything. And we were all walking around with her, and we got to my room. And I remember she was wearing a beige cardigan. And she had this wooden clipboard, and she like grabbed the clipboard and sat down on the bed, and she kind of like sighed. She was like, "Oh," she's like, "It is a shame what happened, isn't it?"
Oh my god, I'd be like, "Get out now."
I remember like I remember I went, "What?" like really loud, like I was angry with her, but I
Yeah.
remember like I in that moment I knew she knew what happened.
Yeah.
I knew she knew what was going on. I just wanted to know.
What? Yeah.
But quickly before I tell you, we were struggling to find a house together to live in for the final year, me and my friends, and we had actually viewed this house, but it turned out the people that lived there before wanted to stay there for their final year. Very suddenly, the next week, the house was offered to us, as the people that lived in the house were moving out. So we were given like no reason as to why they moved out. We were just told the house had suddenly become available, so we moved right in, basically. So yeah, she cut back to the end of the year. She sits down on the bed, sighs, and says, "It's a shame what happened here, isn't it?" And I'm like, "What? Fucking what? Just tell us." And she basically said, like, the reason we got the house so quick is because that the people that were going to stay there for their final year moved out because one of their housemates had died. The room that I was in was the boy's girlfriend's room. So the boy who died, it was his girlfriend's room. I was like, okay, yeah, of course. I was like, that makes perfect sense. It felt like this guy was trying to be around us, this spirit, this ghost was trying to be around us, and it was like playing with, because we were like friends where we play with each other, we purposely piss each other off, like we insult each other as jokes, and we still do, like that's like how we kind of talk to each other. And it felt like he was like trying to get in on the action, like he was like messing with us, but we never felt like we were in danger. So that's all we knew. That's as far as she kind of told us. But then towards like the end of our stay there, we had like a little barbecue in our courtyard. I don't know why I said it like that. And one of my housemate's boyfriends actually knew the boy who had passed away. They got up his Facebook page, which was now like a memorial page, and showed us the picture. And my housemate, who had seen the boy at the end of her bed, was like, that's him, that's who I saw. And remember I said that she thought he looked like Richard?
Yeah.
He looked like my housemate. He looked exactly like my housemate, but wearing glasses.
Oh my God.
It was the creepiest thing.
Oh, it's chills.
Yeah, she managed to tell us a bit more about what happened. So he was we were at like the photography, like media, art university. Just down the road to where we lived was the sports university, like sports science, all that kind of stuff. He was part of that. And him and his friends went out one night on his birthday to do like, you know, like those adventure birthdays where they do like white water rafting and rock climbing and stuff active people do. And he had gotten drunk in the pub with all his friends at the end of the day, and he actually fell off the side of like a cliff into water, and he drowned due to hypothermia. So he managed to keep himself up, but he got hypothermia and drowned. I was like, oh my God, I was like, that's terrible, like that's horrible. I remember phoning mum the next day because I told my mum all of this, and I was like to my mum, told her the story. I was like, he died, like he drowned on his birthday. And she reminded me, she was like, didn't you hear Happy Birthday playing over and over and over that night that it all started? I was like, yes, fucking yes. I was like, come and get me. I was like, I don't want to be in this house anymore. It was like funny though, after that, like literally everything calmed down. Like I felt absolutely nothing. I remember calling Nan, and Nan, who's quite spiritual when it comes to this stuff, like told me what to do and how to protect myself. But he wasn't malicious, like it wasn't like a horrible spirit, but to like I still, it rather wasn't there. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like to this day I still like everywhere I go, if it's not my house, if I'm just visiting somewhere, I think to myself like, is this place haunted? Like, do I want to stay here? It's the reason I don't like Airbnbs. I don't know the history. It's the reason I prefer new build houses. It's the reason like I don't like antique furniture. Like I don't like anything with a history that I don't know what its history is. Yeah. Because of this. And that's it. That's my ghost story.
It's one of the most like things lead on and happen like it could be a film.
Yeah,
you know?
Like it's that's what I think like annoyed me, but I was like, why like me? Like why like does it have to happen like this? Why can't it just be like something that like, because I think when you hear ghost stories and the story fits together so perfectly, you think, well, that's not true. Yeah. Like why couldn't I just saw like a pot fly across the room?
Yeah,
exactly. Do you know what I mean? But this just like, I think as well, like a lot of people say that spirits tend to feed off stress, and I think it started so suddenly because we were all so stressed trying to get all our final stuff together, doing our dissertation, doing our final projects, like general university life, and I feel like it just kind of fed off that energy because we went a whole year without it. Yeah. Although I always think now as well, when we used to get like pre-drink before we go out, I'd always go to the toilet upstairs. We'd all be in the living room. Yeah. And I'd feel like I'd have to talk to myself every time I went upstairs because I never felt alone. Yeah. I'd always spoke out loud. It was weird. I'd always say like what I'm doing and where we're going, and I say stuff like we're going to be back not too late. Do you know, like I remember, and I used to think to myself like I never do that when I'm drunk. I never do that.
That's like a drug
do it before. Yeah. It was drugs. No, I didn't do it beforehand. I don't do it to this day. Like what was I talking to and why? And why did I suddenly start doing it? It was just such a weird thing I used to do. And then it happened even more so when we started experiencing stuff happening in the house. I'm really itchy.
Yeah, don't just tap. It's just probably a bit of glitter.
But yeah, that's my story.
So I need to ask you a few questions. You were saying about, obviously people are like, oh my God, why didn't you just move house? Which obviously you can't because you have to pay deposits and you know, there's lease agreements and you have to pay yourself out of that. Yeah. How do you, I don't know how to say it, how do you come to terms with, okay, something can happen any minute, but this is where I'm living and I can be like, I guess, haunted any second now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, honestly, you don't. Yeah. Like, it sounds like the weirdest thing, but I remember, like, I had, like, a bedtime ritual where I'd put Tim Burton's Number 9, is it called? Yeah. The film on, because it made me feel happy, and it was a cartoon, and it made me feel like there was a positive energy going on. Yeah. I'd put my earplugs in, I'd put my eye mask on, I'd pull my knees up to my chest, like, I'd tuck my duvet in at the end of the bed, and I just, like, fall asleep. Do you know what I mean? And the house had so many corners. Do you remember?
Yeah,
like, you'd have
yeah,
to
it
go
was
down
awful,
like
yeah.
And I remember like
Go down.
needing the toilet during the night was the worst feeling in the world.
Because you didn't want to
Like,
get up.
you know when you're lazy, like it's the morning and you
Yeah.
don't want to get out of bed, but you really need a wee. Imagine that, but like 100 times more. Like you just don't want to go.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the thing now as well. Is like I think because I was scared, but I didn't feel a negative energy, and I didn't let any kind of negativity come from it. Because
Yeah.
one thing I do know, if you believe in this stuff, is the energy you put out there is kind of what you get back from it. If that
Yeah.
makes sense. So, yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's just like, you know, we get drunk a lot anyway, and like we'd always have sleepovers in our own house. Sorry, did I
Yeah.
just ruin that?
No, you're fine, but stop.
We'd always have like sleepovers in our own house, and I
Yeah.
never felt like alone, but
I don't think I could sleep in my own room. I would have to sleep in
someone
a room with
else's.
someone.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's difficult to explain because I watch stuff now and I'm like, they're like 2 months later, like ghost story stuff, and they're like 2 months later they moved. And it's like,
Yeah, but
why,
how?
how? Like, it's like, why did you move? Why didn't you move sooner? Then I remember what I went through, and I was like,
Yeah.
there's so many factors to just moving. Money being like one of the main ones. Timing, like when are you gonna move? Like you have to. I guess you think like I can put up with this for 2 months for the rest of my life. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Instead of paying £2,000
instead of paying
to get out the house.
paying excess rent and like not having all the time you need to concentrate on your work and all this kind of stuff. But it's weird because now, like, because I feel like I know that kind of that's really tacky, but I know that kind of energy and I know the feeling of that. I do go certain places and I'm like, there's something about this place that
Yeah,
just
but I don't
doesn't
like
sit right with me.
Yeah.
It's not just if it looks scary or whatever. Like there'd be like like alleyways or like like corners of the road that I'm like, there's something about this that it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel normal.
Chill out. Look down.
But yeah, and I look back at all my like pictures on Facebook now.
Yeah.
Any pictures that were
You can
taken in that house.
Yeah.
I look
In the
like in the backgrounds. I'm looking at like any lights. I'm looking for like even like an orb or anything. You know, I'm looking for like some kind of
Have
like.
you seen anything in the pictures?
No. And you know, we knew the name of this person. We read the news articles. Which obviously, I'm not going to say now.
No.
But it was just weird, like having something to link it to before we even knew what happened. You know, it's not like we moved into somewhere and someone's like, "This is a haunted house." That's what happened.
Cheaper rent. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it all made sense, and like the whole water stuff completely stopped after that as well. I never felt a drip. Like drips became like a common part of my day.
Yeah. But you know what? Something you didn't mention. Let me tell you about your own experience. Going into that house sometimes, it would feel very damp.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time we kind of visited, it felt fine, and it was like, oh, it's a nice house. Well, it wasn't nice, you know. It was like stupid.
Yeah.
It was fine to live in for however long, and I remember coming back, at some point, I can't remember when, and just thinking, oh my god, it's almost like the house has become completely damp.
Yeah.
There were slug trails.
Oh my
Do you remember
god, I
the
forgot about
sunshades?
that. So the house was absolutely fine. It was old. It was a student house. We didn't have damp though. We like it was never.
Oh yeah,
an
it didn't
issue.
smell like musky
But
or anything
it
like
felt
that. Wet.
Like the air felt wet all the time, like
Yeah.
a mist, like constant. Like you didn't
But
see it,
only,
like
but
a
not,
wet.
not when you first moved there. It was only after a little while.
Yeah, and it just felt really, really weird. Like this feels so heavy. Oh my god, I can see them.
Yeah.
It feels
Look
like
down, look down.
wearing like a really wide brim low hat.
Yeah, you'll get used to it. Everything alright?
No. But this is also why I'm so obsessed with other people's ghost stories.
Yeah.
Like when I watch like because people always ask if I watch other beauty people on YouTube, and I don't.
Yeah.
I watch true crime and horror. And so whenever I'm watching like these horror stories, especially when they have pictures and stuff, I feel like I can relate to like some of the language that these people use about their stories at beforehand. I was like, what are you talking about? Like that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But like I do feel like I actually know what like a heavy feeling room feels like, and what a real darkness feels like. And that's the thing is like when I went into my housemate's room and I felt that it wasn't a horrible, evil, like angry darkness. It was like really sad, like I shouldn't have been in that room. Like I walked in
Like
on
you walked in on someone's
moment.
moment.
Yeah. And I remember just like not feeling like scared that I interrupted, but feeling almost like awkward that I walked in at that particular moment in time into that room.
Yeah.
And I felt almost kind of like I should have apologized, but it's really, really odd. Like, it's a very odd feeling. It's something like you really can't describe. It's like, you know, you can't really describe the feeling of being put to sleep unless you've had it done at a hospital. Do you know what I mean? Like, trying to explain what that feels like is like trying to explain what all these like not everyday feelings feels. It's just so, it's just very, very weird. And I've had no experience since.
Yeah, right.
I believe in it way more, but I've never like had anything like, I don't know, I've just never felt anything.
But you're more cautious now,
I'm
like you said.
so much more cautious. Like,
Not that it was your fault.
no, yeah.
Victim blame.
Yeah. I deserved all of it. Have you had any ghost experience?
Never. And that's the end.
And that's the end. That's the next video.
All right.
You should put that really bad iMovie filter over it. You know, the one with like bits of flying.
Like
Yeah.
Oh, James, makeup becomes you.
Thank you.
Fine.
It's not what I wanted. But yeah, that's my ghost story, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Oh, this is the first time I've ever done a face like this for you.
This is the first time you've ever done my makeup.
You usually do remember. Just a little story. I'll just stay here. Do you remember when years ago I used to get my kit with all the like different colour paints?
Oh my god! When you were like when you first started doing makeup.
And I'm like, James, can I practice body painting? Because body painting is completely different from normal makeup. And I'll be like, I've been inspired by like The Lion King because it just come to the theatre in London. And I'll spend like an hour pretending to do Lion King makeup.
To be like a whole face.
And I'll just draw a load of penises on your face.
Yeah. And I thought he was doing like this whole body paint thing. Oh look, there's bluey shit on it.
Yeah. So up here, and chin up, face this way. Look like someone's punched you in the head, but then you rest your eyes in your mouth, and then do this. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, James. Thank you for sharing your story with us. That was fantastic. Yes.
We're not really sitting down.
We're squatting in the middle of a room, and it really hurts.
So painful.
So remember to send me your ghost stories on this email, and I'll read them out next week for you.
More pictures if you can.
More pictures. More videos. That's like saying, I hope you've been haunted, send me pictures. But yes, thank you so much. If you liked this, please share it with people. Let them know if they like makeup and ghosts, which kind of go hand in hand.
All the time.
All the time. Also, don't forget to check out James's channel as well for all your skincare needs. I don't know. Ask James.
Yeah, I don't know
Or you've been doing YouTube for how long?
Oh, properly?
Yeah.
Like 3 years?
There's going to be a video in there
There's a
somewhere
video
that's going to help you. Don't forget to subscribe. Have an amazing week ahead, and I will see you very soon. Bye.